Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of A Coffee with Chris, the social media show that helps you create impact. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partners, 𝗖𝗄𝗄𝗲, who help local people affected by cancer, and Blue Bear Coffee, who replace your business's coffee to help children that have experienced human trafficking. Today, as always, I'm always sipping on the Blue Bear Coffee. I am actually enjoying their Myanmar blend. It is delicious, and you can buy it online. You can also drop into their store if you're based in Norwich on Tombland and grab yourself a bag of this. Get loads for your business and help kids that have been human trafficked. Amazing, amazing business. As always, too, this podcast is proudly sponsored by Oliver Hill of Hill Coaching Company, Limitless Film and Media, Mindset HR, and Wingfield Consultants. Formalities done. Today's guest, super excited to welcome to the Coffee with Chris dance floor, video marketing expert and CEO of Brunton Media, Carlton Brunton. Brunton Media, for those of you that don't know, help brands to craft strategic video content. Carlton, welcome to A Coffee with Chris. We always start with the why. Why does someone need to develop the right mindset when it comes to creating exceptional video content?
I think it's about what you want to focus on when you look out into the world, right? There's a lot of people who focus on the doom and gloom. This is what the government's doing. This is what's happening in geopolitics, etc. Right? And I think that's a focus. Yeah, it's something we should be aware of. But for me, I've always followed the logic or followed the understanding that if I out visibility that problem, I will always be busy.
With you. Great start. So true. And it's amazing. We spoke actually off air before we started broadcasting about how important it is to get ahead of the game. And we were talking about our own video content marketing strategy and the mindset that we'd have towards that. So I look forward to getting to the nuts and bolts of that today. Carlton, I'm going to throw the word at you, storytelling. It seems to be something that's getting more and more spoken about now, and rightly so. And I'm pleased about that. What does good storytelling look like on video? And again, why should a business storytell through video content?
There's a couple of things that someone listening to this who's new to video should consider. I mean, we could go into like the tactics of how to build a video really quickly. It should be a hook, which hooks the audience in, stops that scroll, gets them to click, then into the body of the content that in my view should be value led. And then what do you want them to do at the end? But that's quite technical and can be quite scary if you're new to video. But think about it from a traditional storytelling sense. What mostly happens in Hollywood or in any book or etc. that you've written, you'll have a level, and this is a basic storytelling kind of arc, which is an introduction. So where you are, who do I need to care about character-wise? And then we'll have a level of conflict that will then lead into after that introduction. So we know kind of who we need to care about. Then we'll lead into a level of conflict. And this is potentially the challenge which your client may want that you help them overcome, or it might be a challenge which that story, that person, who the key character in that story is actually going to run up against. And most stories, and those who watch a lot of episodics or a lot of films will know when they don't do this very well, because you should have a resolution after that. But if it sometimes in films and episodics, especially when they're not written well, in my view, they can have in some ways have a looser resolution. So it doesn't wrap that whole story up, and it can leave your audience, the viewer, in a position where they're a bit uncomfortable. And this isn't the same as leaving a cliffhanger, because a cliffhanger implies there's more to come, but you need to wait and come back for the next episode, right? But I think to give it some business context, I think when we leave off the story we're trying to tell or the piece of information we're trying to share, there should be a level of takeaway. There should be some tangible advice or tangible things that someone could think about that would allow them to actually take away some of the things they've learned in that video or in that piece of content, and then be able to, quote, better their life or better their business or better their marketing in what they're looking to do as a whole.
I think that's amazing wisdom, Carlton. I think it's so true. I actually think just some real starter pack, 101 advice for businesses is to just storytell, because still I see on social media platforms with various businesses, brands, and personal accounts is they are doing video content. They get that. They get that that's important media. They know it's prioritizing the algorithm, etc. But it's just very standard service product-based video where they're just talking about the thing rather than storytell. And actually, if you're a business owner, I'm sure you'd concur with this, Carlton, like, just tell your story, because people want to buy into that, don't they? Before they buy a product or service, they want to know the owner's story, the business's story. They want to understand the kind of longevity of the business, how long it's been about for, the values it stands for. Would you agree, or am I talking nonsense there?
I would agree, but I think it's about what I would call pillar or what camp you're aiming to target your content at. So what I was just thinking of as you were talking then is we're in a stage now where AI is very prominent. Everyone wants to trust, okay, is this actually a real person? Do they actually do good work? And if I pay the money, are they not going to run for the hills, really? And crux is what we're referring to. And you can kind of do both. So storytelling your origin story is incredibly powerful to allow you to do that. Absolutely. But the key is to make sure that that's maybe either you could use that as a hook, like if when you get really good at it, you'll package it out very quickly as a, this is why you should listen and stop that scroll. But you should also consider some other pillars as you get a little bit more advanced, in my view, at least, of maybe it's not necessarily about you, because you need to remember that the things that matter in marketing is your customer, is your consumer, is your client, not necessarily you. And if you're struggling with, I'm sure we'll get onto confidence a little bit later, but if you're struggling with confidence in maybe doing a live like this or coming across on video, etc., consider that the camera or the medium in which you're articulating through is surely just a catalyst to allow you to share that information to the person that you can serve best, rather than, oh my God, they're going to think I haven't had my haircut done, or oh my God, I've got a beard, or oh my God, what about what I'm wearing? Oh my God, what about this? Oh my God, I've got a spot. Oh my God, what, etc. Right? Because we're naturally going to, I guess in some ways, lean into self-criticism of like, I feel slightly fatter, I'm not in the best shape, or I'm worried about my hair not looking perfect, or etc., etc., etc. When actuality, what most audiences or clients or customers are going to care about is, how do you help me as a client or as a customer move forward, right? And this sounds slightly backwards, but if you focus on that, it takes the pressure off you, and then you can focus on the transition that you, or the transformation that you actually offer to your clients.
I do actually want to get straight into that, Carlton, if that's okay. I want to get into the starting steps. I love to kind of do that with people, because there's lots of geeky advanced stuff out there, but certainly when you're helping your clients, and hey, even yourself, Carlton, it'd be really interesting to hear, like, how did you get your confidence when it comes to video content, and what would be the starting steps in terms of mindset? So, you know, all of the tech stuff, let's park that for now. You know, all of the kind of how to do video and all that stuff, park that for now. How did you get yourself in front of the camera, and how do you get your clients in front of the camera to tell their story, to talk about their business effectively?
I think there's a lot that you could do, but from a confidence point of view, the structures that I would follow, and I've taught this multiple times as other content if you want to go into a bit more depth, but there's a kind of three-tiered approach, right? So the first 7 days roughly is, let's just get you into the habit of talking to an inanimate object, because that's what we're doing. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. It might be your phone, etc. Right? Get something with a camera on it and get used to the idea of talking to it. Right? So you spend 7 days just documenting what you did today and how you feel about it. Right? Don't worry about like, oh, this is not really connected to my ideal client, etc. Don't worry about any of that right now. The job of that is to get you familiar, or get you to start to build that snowball effect to the concept of, I'm going to talk to an animate object that's going to give me absolutely no feedback at all. Right? Once you've done that for 7 days, you're also starting to build a momentum swing in the right direction. The second thing to do is use ChatGPT, Google, Ask the Public, Chris, etc. for a set of tangible questions that you could easily answer. Okay, roughly aim about 7 again, because you can answer each one every day. And if you want to, you can actually front load it. So you can do, say, the first 3 in the first day, if you feel up to it, see how you feel, and then do the next 3 and so on. And the key here is then to actually output, or start to output that content to your, not to socials, but to your family and friends, to say, hey, I'm looking to start, you know, getting into video and starting to really polish what I'm talking about. and see if I can help people like actually move forward in whatever I help them with, right? So let's say you're a coach. This is my coaching methodology. This is how I would help a client, and frame it in that respect. So you're being the catalyst again, as I alluded to earlier, and then kind of push forward and say, can I get some honest feedback? Now, it's key that in that message or in however you send these videos, you make it clear that you want honest feedback, because what happens socially is your friends and family are going to go, yeah, that's really great. That's really wonderful. That's really wonderful. Well done, you, right? Because naturally we want to be positive, right? And you might get a little bit of positive spray on that, but the key is to actually have one point that you could improve on. So is it how I make eye contact? Nice. Is it the pauses I make? Is it the terminology I use? A lot of stuff that's going on at the moment online with, like, we mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk in the pre-show, but also 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗀 and people like that. They're talking a lot about really, I'm going to call it dumbing down the language, but it makes it more consumable for every person. Because if you use things like KPIs and C2As and etc., if you don't know, if someone doesn't know what that means, they're just going to go, well, like ROI is a common one, right? But I think for me, the key is to simplify it for you, simplify it for the person consuming it. But once you've done that 7 days, just to wrap up the kind of my 3-step process, you can then redo with the feedback you've got those question and answer sessions. Use the question as your opening and then answer it. And then just don't overthink it. Just start posting it on social media, because the reality is going to be, it's probably you're only going to get 4 to 5 views per video, because it's a new concept. And unless you have a like very established audience already through written or etc., you're unlikely to get a huge amount of traction on those videos. But what it will allow you to do is build your confidence up slowly. So you're not going from 1 to 100, you're going 1 to 10, then to 15, then to 20, and you're slowly going to start building that compounding effect. So you can focus on 1% improvement per video. So it might be, oh, we're going to make the audio 1% better. We're then going to make the content delivery 1% better. I'm talking too fast, so let me pause to give you a thought process or an opportunity to think about what I've said. Oh, I'm saying like and 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 a lot because I'm not confident in what I'm saying. Okay, let me write some notes, etc. And then once you've done that, roughly you're probably around maybe 20 days, 24, maybe 24, 25 days. And at that point, you're basically halfway to building a consistent habit already. So all you've got to do is continue for another week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then you've basically got already the habit. And then you've done most of the lifting in that respect as well. So then it's just about a matter of then focusing on that 1% and moving that needle slightly more.
I'm so with you on all that, Carlton. I think that's sterling advice. And the thing I was going to come to you on is, like, when we hit the big red publish button and the video goes live, they've taken the plunge, it's out there for the world to see, they're thinking to judge rather than listen to what they say, etc. How does one kind of keep going, keep publishing? Because often the clients that we're coaching and doing consultancy with is that they'll publish video for maybe up to 2 weeks tops, and then they go, oh, it didn't really get any likes or any comments, so I just stopped that. I'm in a position now where literally as we speak, I'm filming 52 videos for the whole of the rest of 2026, right? Secrets out. And I'm just gonna publish them no matter what, regardless of the vanity metrics. But I'd love to get your take on that, Carlton. How do you get yourself in the position where you're publishing and you're not worrying about the likes and the comments because you're serving, not selling? How do you do that?
For me, if I'm just looking at myself personally, this is going to sound really horrible. I don't care what other people think or how well the content performs from a numbers point of view initially at the start, because especially when I have a new concept, say I relaunched the podcast about 8 weeks ago ish, right? My window of expectation was just looking at, in the next 4 weeks, how many views did the account get, not each video, not each clip, not each so on. And then I looked at each metric and then I went into a bit more depth when I was doing a review meeting. But as I was curating it, because I wanted to build reps quickly, I didn't actually focus on how well did this piece do. I focused on how many pieces can I output, how much 1% improvements per piece can I then focus on. And I think for me, the key is, a load of people close to me are sick of me hearing the words like compounding, but it is the reason why it works, right? Yeah. The same is true in fitness, same is true in skill, same is true in any new skill, etc. the more you do it through repetition, you'll naturally get better and better and better. But if you focus on where you're going to be at the end of the year, let's say you want to aim to be 37 times better, right? You'll actually not get there because you're constantly focusing at the end of the year going, oh, well, I had a bad session today. Instead of focusing on today, and some days you will just say, I filmed a piece of content today. That's a win. That's my 1%.
Yeah, I love
or
that.
I showed up for the fitness thing. That's the 1%. Or I had the lesson in driving. For me, for example, this morning was really hard. I didn't have a good lesson. But what I know is, I know for me to be able to pass my test, I have to keep going to toggle that 1% closer and closer to the point where I'm able to drive at a higher level. And it's the same with content, same with anything else. And I think if you focus on that 1%, the reason why I use 37 is if you do focus on 1% improvement per day, by the end of the year, you will be 37 times better than when you started. And when you understand how the numbers stack up and you understand the maths and you look into the maths a bit more, it does baffle your mind quite quickly because of how quick and how fast your skill will grow. And I think for me, that's the key, I guess. And it's more generalized, sure, but like it can work in video, it can work in presenting, it can work in marketing, it can work in anything. And I think that's the key with consistency, because the main thing that I'm sure your clients and your people you talk to as well struggle with, that especially people we serve struggle with, is consistency. Because the only way you get the data that works, and the only way you get to get a bit nerdy really quickly, like the only way you know what marketing works is because you've done the reps and the volume. And that's through consistency that you'll be able to do that. And it, especially when you're selling maybe a higher ticket products, you need more consistency or more touch points for your consumer to be able to consider you as a prospect or as an option or as a person to potentially hire. So just to round it up, that's why I focus on the 1% in everything I do.
I love that. I'm a huge 1% fan. Kaizen methods. There's a great Instagram account. I think it's Stephen Bartlett runs it, actually, 1% or something like that. So all over that, totally makes sense. I think also, Carlton, people don't realize still how much bang they're getting for their buck in terms of the time they spend filming video. This isn't just a selfish, all about, social media or video marketing. I think people are still going, right, well, if I film this for social, it's just going to disappear and that will be it. It'll be into the digital universe. They're not thinking about the fact that video can be reused in their email marketing. It can live on YouTube forever. It can be sent to prospects. It can be like, there's so much you can get out of it. And so I wanted to come to you on that, Carlton, is maybe just to do a bit of the geeky stuff, is when you're filming your video content, how do you go about kind of repurposing, redistributing, say, like a singular piece of content? Like, what do you do with it?
So I'll use the podcast because it's a long form piece and it's the main, I would say, like filler of my engine of content right now. There's a couple of other exceptions and I do a couple of other things outside of it that if you want me to go into, I can afterwards. But imagine you've got the podcast here, right? So we'll have the full podcast episode. It will go live on YouTube and audio platforms, etc. Cool. Then I will AI cut that podcast into short social media chunks to be distributed across the week that specific podcast goes live, right? Then I will also have a trailer made that is for the hook of the start of that video. So I mentioned hook, content, call to action earlier, but basically it's a highlight reel of what's going to be discussed in the episode and allows the audience to really give a huge amount of context when they click on that video to understand, yes, they want to watch it or no, they don't. And then I will then also manually myself cut percentage of the podcast up for social distribution as well. But also what I'm doing is I'm creating what I'm going to call an ever-present opportunity, right? So these videos will also go on YouTube. They'll also sit on social, so you'll see them across my social channels, and they'll point back to the full episode on YouTube. And that's so I can get a warmed audience, not to directly sell to you, but to get you familiar and build the parasocial relationship with you, so that when it comes for you needing or wanting to trust someone to do your marketing or do your videos, then you're more likely to think of me. But the thing that I've also started in the last month is having an omnipresent stream that I'm talking on your stream right now. And as of recording this right now, there's also me talking on podcasts, old episodes, but also being live streamed on all my channels as of right now as well. So it's this omnipresent, someone can check in and check out and sort of hear my points of view and slowly build that, I guess, parasocial relationship or even relationship with me through time to allow me to really stretch and really push my content so that I invest the time, energy, money, resources into hiring the studio, getting it edited, getting it output, search engine optimization it so it can be evergreen and it can be so very quickly on that. Like I can have YouTube video that sits dormant and maybe gets maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 views, maybe like less than 100. And you would think, okay, well, what's that going to do for my business? The key is like in 6 months, it could just be triggered by the algorithm for whatever reason, because a search term that's in the tags gets a huge amount of marketing traction. And then suddenly it can go from under 100 views to, and I've watched this happen, into like the 20,000 view range. The channel can grow significantly because of that, but also my inquiries will grow significantly because of that. And I didn't really do much else outside of having it sit online and sit there. So the best option or the opportunity for me, especially in down periods like we are now in the summer, is to fill that content engine as much as possible. We were talking in the pre-show, like pre-recorded wise, I'm now live streaming out all of my episodes, but that's because I've got so much of a bank. You won't see that episode pre-cut or after it's been edited and with trailers and really polished until like 3 months after it was filmed, because of how far ahead I am. And the reason why I do that is so that I can always be consistent regardless of what's happening in the day-to-day of the business. Because let's say I've got loads of production days or I've got loads of editing to do for clients, then I can't be filming podcasts or being on live streams with you, but I can still be omnipresent because I've got the content loaded and ready. So then I can either schedule it out or I can put it out in breaks in between the client work.
If that doesn't make it clear enough, if that doesn't give a business owner complete clarity that they have to, 2-foot challenge this video thing ASAP, especially getting their face on camera in this AI world that we're getting into. It's so important. You touched upon it. I'll just chip in actually there, Carlton. I don't often do this, but I will do it with that. You mentioned YouTube and being kind of omnipresent, evergreen stuff, and the way that it can, publish its 5 views, all of a sudden it's 15,000, etc. YouTube's amazing because it's the only platform that doesn't penalize you for editing, right? So you can publish something today, you can go back, fast forward to the end of this year, and if you change the thumbnail and the title and the description, all of a sudden, like that, it can really boom. Of course, as well, to caveat that, 5 views from your ICP, your ideal customer profile, is so much more valuable anyway. So it's an incredible platform. I just wanted to quickly geek out on YouTube. Carlton, I'm aware of time. Can you quick fire some mistakes that people are making, please, so our growing community here can avoid them when it comes to their mindset to video content marketing? What are the mistakes that you're seeing people make?
Firstly, like getting in your head about like, I don't look perfect, I don't have the right microphone, camera, etc. Like just not doing it, not starting moving that ball forward. Number one. Number two, not when you are in the motion of doing it, not focusing on getting constructive criticism and not taking that to heart as a personal attack, and learning how to go, hey, the data is telling me this, so we should do more of that, and that's cool, right? But also tangibly, something that I've really focused on is really, really investing time, energy, resources, and money into my hooks of every single video, and really making sure that that is the thing I spend a lot of time on, and the overall packaging of the video. So very quick lesson, if those who don't know, packaging is your thumbnail, your title, and the top 2 lines of your description, followed by the first 3 seconds of a video. If you take anything from this stream, please focus on the first 3 seconds of making sure it actually connects with your title and description, because if you don't, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the video is, because no one's going to see it, because the algorithm will bury it, and then no one will see it because it will die on the algorithm graveyard, or however you want to articulate it, right?
Oh, there's my headline.
But the key is to make sure that it builds intrigue first to get the click, and then it confirms the intrigue within the hook.
I think there's some really good things highlighted there, Carlton. I think, the important thing as well is we're seeing a massive shift now on social media where the algorithm and all of the platforms are prioritizing more raw, more authentic, more relatable content, right? I always tell this story. One of my coaching clients, she did this absolutely amazing video where she was walking along the beach, and it was really windy. You could hear her, but every now and then you couldn't hear her. And she was like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm not going to share this one, Chris. I went, oh my God, Cassandra, but what you said was gold. And it's so relatable and it's authentic. And she posted it, and it got so much more traction than her polished video content. So I just really want to make this clear. And I'm sure that you would agree, Carlton, like there's definitely a place for polished content. Of course there is, but don't overthink the point of entry. Just get going, just get started. Carlton, where can people learn more about you, your business? Where can they get more of all of this wisdom that you've kindly shared upon us today?
But quickly, before I plug, and it'll be very, very quickly, just go check out the live stream and go check out the podcast. I just want to have a really quick story. It'll take 10 seconds.
Do it.
I did a video on my phone with this hook structure, hook content, call to action. It over-indexed nearly 10 times than most of the average content at that time. Right? So you could say, oh, it's because I knew what I was doing, but I didn't use a professional camera, didn't use professional microphones, and it just over-indexed. It's kind of irritating, to be fair, but that's just an example. That's an example of what you can do. But for those who are interested and have really taken value potentially from this conversation, I would just go over to my channels. I'll be restarting the pre-recorded live stream soon. So if you want to catch the latest episode, it's at the top of that live stream queue. And then on Thursday, at the time of this going out live, there'll also be 2 brand new episodes being live streamed over on my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch, etc. So for those who want to check it out, then that's the best place to connect with us.
And because we're being all podcasty, you might see Chris Reeve on that very podcast soon. Carlton, thank you so much for your time and wisdom today. Very much appreciate it.
No, thank you ever so much for having me. And hopefully the interwebs took value from our conversation. I hope.
They will. And thank you so much to everyone that's watched live, watched back, listened back. Let us know your thoughts, feelings, reflections on this episode. And hey, why not ask a cheeky question to Carlton in the comment section? I'm sure he'll get back to you with as much help and support as he possibly can. Do like and subscribe on YouTube. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation. Do give us a 5-star review on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, etc. That would be marvelous. Thank you once again for tuning in to Coffee with Chris, and I'll see you this time next week for another